A lot of questions about prescribed fire this time of year. Prescribed fire in timber, especially hardwoods, can either help explode the deer numbers on your property or wreck it for a long time to come. Here's some tips specifically about burning using prescribed fire in hardwoods. Deer season's wrapping up throughout much of the whitetails range, and a lot of people starting to think pretty hard about habitat management. Better habitat for deer, better habitat for turkey, just better habitat in general. And what I define as really good habitat is reverting back to the natural habitat, what the early explorers wrote. We know how productive that was. They talk about seeing thousands and thousands of critters. Sometimes I mention a good book I'm reading. I'll share today. We'll put a screenshot up there. I'm reading a great biography, considered the best biography of Daniel Boone, and his observations of Kentucky, the amount of critters they saw, the amount of vast open country with grasses and forbs, and timber and cane breaks. Well, that's what we ought to strive for, depending on where you live. Here in the Ozarks, like a lot of places, the timber's primarily hardwoods. It's been high graded for many, many decades, over and over again. So we just completed a prescribed fire in this area. Right off the bat, you can notice we come through ahead of time. Tim did this and blew the fuel away from this big oak. There's not that many big oaks. This is a red oak in the area, and we don't want any chance of leaves being a little hole or something and further damaging that tree. We want it to be an acorn producer, be a big dominant tree in the area. So there's no black around here at all, and that's because where there is right over here, and that's because we took the fuel away. So there's no chance it got really hot, big stick laying next to it or something, and scarred that tree. Yeah, it's a lot of work, but in my place, there's not that many great big oaks. I don't want to damage them. We don't do that to every tree out here, but the big trees we try to protect. And that's tip one about prescribed fire season this year. Tip number two, when I'm writing a plan or actually doing like I did here, prescribed fire in hardwoods, I'm almost always using a backing fire or a strip head fire. And that means you're not going to get total fuel consumption. This isn't like a pine stand with 6 inches of pine needles and you light that baby and let it cook on through there, scorched trees 6, 8 feet tall. If you do that in hardwoods, you're going to kill a whole bunch of trees. So we backed the fire into the wind. It was a south wind that day, and this way towards the camera is kind of downhill. So we started up here and spent our day back. And when I say strip head fire, the whole fire primarily is backing, but I come to an opening where there's a bunch of brush or sprouts I don't want and no trees I want to protect. I drop down and set a head fire, let it rush 20 or 30 yards through there to get a little bit more intense and try to set those back. Tip number 3. Man, it's fun when you're burning in hardwood leaves. I'm looking for sheds. I'm looking around. I'm looking for big trees or trees of a preferred species I want to protect. And it's real easy to step in a hole and bust your ankle. Good thing we weren't filming all that fire, because on over here, I stepped about knee deep in an armadillo hole, threw my drip torch. Lucky I didn't bust up an ankle or a knee. Worked out okay, but you got to be looking. And here, this was probably leaf covered. You can see how hot some of this got. Could have stepped in it easy, but that fire, of course, removed a lot of leaves down in there, and now you see it. So when you're burning through hardwoods especially, you got to watch where you're stepping. Number 4, because you're using a low intensity fire in hardwoods almost always, you're not going to burn up all the fuel in there. You know, my wife, this is our driveways right over here. My wife would probably like this dead log gone. I kind of like it because I can sit down there and call a turkey, which turkey's going to be in this fresh burn here in a couple months, that's for sure. But you're not going to have a hot enough fire. You can tell it burnt some bark off, made some ash down there, but it's not going to consume that. Even fuel like this, or you can see behind me, this is all scarred up. You can see the blacking on there real easy, but you're not going to consume that in a low intensity fire. If you're burning hot enough that you're consuming fuel like this, you're going to get heat through the cambium of these hardwood trees, which are much thinner than a pine tree, and kill trees. Now, don't let me scare you, because this area's been burned 3 times before this fire. And every time we burn, we consume more and more of this slash, this is primarily cedar slash, from when we first opened up this area. But you're not gonna get it all in one burn and still have big mature hardwoods in the area.
Growing Deer is brought to you by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. Also by Green Cover Food Plots, Winchester, PH Outdoors, Black Widow Bows, Moultrie, Steel, Fleet Outdoor Apparel, Morel Targets, Fourth Arrow, Soil Pro Outdoors, Scorpion Venom Archery, Case IH Tractors, Burris Optics, and Redneck Hunting Blinds.
Everyone walking through hardwoods has got tied up on greenbrier, catbrier, genus name is smilax. Man, they can take the skin right off your hand. When it's young and tender, it's great deer browse. Usually test out about the same quality as alfalfa. It's a perennial plant, has a taproot halfway to China, but it can get too mature. And prescribed fire will just girdle it like it did here, and there'd be brand new sprouts. You can see how that's black all around. I'm sure it killed the cambium layer, but that root system's still intact. Barely down there, it looks normal. It's actually moist, and that's gonna sprout back with 2 or 3 new sprouts without any briars, and deer being here munching down, just like an alfalfa field. A prescribed fire should be prescribed for a specific mission. You don't just go burn because it's fun. That's a waste of time and dangerous. Dangerous that it might get out, and dangerous that you won't get any results you want. When you're burning in hardwoods, a couple of the goals may be to help remove some of the slash from where you've harvested cedars or cut stuff down, to bear all the leaf litter if you've got enough sun coming through to get grasses and forbs growing, or to remove fuel because you're getting ready to burn a bigger unit over here and you want to not worry about this small edge, maybe it's by a house or something. You want to get the fuel out of the way in that small unit so you don't have to worry about it when you're going to be off tending a much larger fire. I really feel like restoring native vegetation is kind of close to the top of the pyramid as far as being a conservationist. It's good for land, it's good for critters. It really heals the land in many ways. Heals the soil, more growing plants, cleans the air, the whole water-air cycle goes on. I think the same is true for healing our lives or restoring it to the native state that our Creator created us to live. When we get in balance with the Creator, which means we're seeking His will and applying it daily, we're probably as productive as we can be, we're as healthy as we can be, and we're certainly benefiting others as much as we can. I encourage you to join the Growing Deer team, none of us are perfect, and seek the Creator's will and apply it to your life daily. Thanks for watching Growing Deer.